For you guys who don't know me, Mark Merrion, HVAC service for the group. I'm going to probably open up to a lot of questions, but a lot of articles are being passed around right now. And I know my back has been against the wall at the supply houses for what we're getting, what we're doing. But this article, I'm going to read a couple paragraphs from, really pretty much sums everything up what's happening right now. As of right now, I told everybody about how the new refrigerants being mandated and there's a shortage and this, that, and the other thing. As of right now, this was supposed to be a 10-year process to change over from one refrigerant to the other. The last administration thought it would be a good idea to run this within 15 months. So we kind of sped the process up, I think, a little too fast. Is it a good thing for the environment, the new refrigerants? From what the old refrigerants were to the new standards, it's this much of a difference. But as they're claiming, this much of a difference on millions of units is a big deal. So we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but the push is happening from 15 months to 10 to 20 year turnaround. What it was supposed to be to 15 months is a little difficult. Refrigerant cost, because there is no refrigerant available, is up 600% increase. Basically, a unit that was installed last year, just between the materials, the refrigerant, and everything else, was roughly around $8,000. This year, it's $11,000. Excuse me? Heat and air. That's just in air. Just in air, 5-ton air conditioning system installed last year, roughly $8,000. The same exact system with a minimum of $11,000 this year. It's a good jump. Would this get cleared up and the prices come down? In my industry, when there's a shortage on something, I don't care what it is, control boards that were coming from China when they had the strike out in Los Angeles and they couldn't bring the container ships in. The prices of some of the control boards from 3 different manufacturers went up through the roof. They still haven't come back down. Once they increase a price, they're not going to drop down. It just doesn't happen. So basically what I'm telling you, basically prices are up, they're going to stay up, and I don't think they're going to come down anytime soon. If not, it's going to get even worse because we haven't hit peak season yet. So if you're thinking about having your system replaced, you want to save money on your utility bills, there's 2 ways to do that. One is give Tim a call. Get solar on your roof if you can, if it's feasible. As we all know, I'm going to piggyback off of Tim. Rates are going up by 20%. If rates are going up by 20% and we can save you 20-25% on your electric usage from a new higher efficiency unit, that's a 50% savings of what you're doing. You almost, at this point, they're driving you, and this is what they've been trying to do the whole time. They're driving you to high efficiency units. They're driving you to solar. They're driving to this, that, and the other thing. I know from being a Lennox dealer where we had some solar stuff, people are really, I believe, jumping on the bandwagon right now because they're afraid possibly next year a lot of these credits may be going away. So this is the time to do your energy efficiency stuff because they're pulled a lot of our stuff is being rolled back. So the money for high efficiency units, government incentives is going away from us. Government incentives is going away for solar. Possibly it might, there's still some hope, but this is the time. If you think you're having an issue, one end of your house, second floor is not cooling as well as the first floor, give us a call. It's one of the things I specialize in, just not putting an air conditioning system in somebody's home or a heating system. I try to make the whole house even, comfortable, balanced. I've said this, and I haven't really said it a lot in the past. Any idiot contractor can make your house hot or cold. It's not that hard. It's really not that difficult of a job. Where it takes a thought process is making your house comfortable. Air conditioning is a multi-pronged the word I'm looking for, process. You're looking to remove temperature. You're looking to remove humidity. You're looking to filter the air. It's just not a refrigerator. We want to make it comfortable. Old timers always, my grandmothers, I hate air conditioning. It's always cold and clammy. Well, you got a unit, the 10,000 BTU unit in a room that's 10 foot by 10 foot. You never removed any humidity. So it's cold and clammy. You got microbial growth growing on the walls because they're sweating. So now you have to give Matt a phone call to try to get that cleaned up. It's not the way to do things. Sometimes, or most of the time, when we figure out a system, I'd rather put a system in that's a little too small for an area. The unit will run longer, it'll dehumidify better, keep the airflow. The house is more balanced. Yes, when it's 95 degrees out, will the air conditioner keep up? Probably not. How often are we at 95 degrees? Very, very few times of the year. But if it's not keeping up with temperature, but it's dehumidifying the heck out of the house, you feel just as comfortable. Having a smaller unit most of the year, you're saving on your utility bills because the unit's a smaller unit. So don't go crazy with size. Yes, Mr. Ralph.
We have all these units that have regulation. They regulate the fan, they go faster, they go slower, they do this, they do that. Are there units now that act as a small unit and then can kick into a bigger unit when it gets
yes. Not only nowadays do we have the variable speed fans in the furnace, we have variable capacity air conditioners. For example, we do Bosch. Bosch only has two size air conditioners. They have a 3-ton and a 5-ton. If you needed a 2-ton unit, you put the 3-ton in. This unit actually runs. It says, oh, I'm too big. I'm going to slow my compressor down. I'm going to change all the variables, all electronically. It's all done by the unit.
There's sensors throughout the house.
Nope. The sensor is actually built into the unit, and it'll say, nope, I'm getting too much refrigerant coming back. Let me slow this compressor down. It's all internal. Takes a lot of the guesswork out. By doing that, it eliminated a lot of the controls on the furnaces. They're really nice unit. I have them in my home. The only difference is the two that I have is I needed 2 3-ton units, and I have 2 3-ton units that run maxed out, which is fine. And Bosch was kind of funny. They have a little Easter egg built into their unit. We all make a joke with the capacitor. We all call them flux capacitors, like in Back to the Future. If you want a Bosch unit to run at maximum, you run it at 88%. Kind of funny, 88 miles an hour. That's time travel. It was just kind of funny. I'm like, why do we have to put a code 88 for 100% capacity? And it's just like, somebody made a comment about it. It's like, oh, that was cute. But
is that your go-to?
No, it's not my go-to because a lot of people can't afford it. These Bosch units, it's called an IDS2. They're probably twice as expensive as a really good other unit.
So they're more expensive, twice as expensive as like your Lennoxes or Trains or whatever.
Yeah, they're more expensive than my mid-level. They're about twice as expensive as my mid-level Lennox. And my mid-level Lennox is probably, I'm going to say, one of my more expensive and try to twist somebody's arm to get to. Most of the people use the entry-level Lennox, which are beautiful units. Lennox doesn't make a contractor-grade piece of equipment, so their lower-end unit is mid-grade to a lot of the other manufacturers. And just because, and I come across this so many times, I go out to a customer's house, air conditioning's not working, heat's not working. I have a Carrier. Okay, great, you got a Carrier. That's like saying to me you have a GM. You have a Carrier, but it's a Geo Metro model. It's not the Cadillac. You bought the bottom of the barrel of the Carrier line. You bought the bottom of the barrel of the train line. We don't have a contractor unit. It's more of a mid-grade, more like a Buick. It's just.
What's the difference between those?
Excuse
How
me?
do you know?
What is the difference between the levels in, say, Lennox, just throw it out there, Lennox, what's the difference? Is it thicker material? Is it more?
Most of the
electronics?
metals are the same. When you start getting into the better units at Lennox, they have sound isolation jackets on the compressor so you don't hear them. You go into a higher, better blower motors. They're bearing motors instead of sleeve motors. A sleeve, they just have a metal rod that goes through basically a piece of metal. Otherwise, other ones use ball bearings. They do last longer. A lot of the entry-level Lennoxes, the motors are what we call constant torque. They have 5 different speeds. It is the new DC voltage motors. When you get into the better ones, they're variable speeds. The RPMs in a motor can change within 10 RPMs. So it's just infinite amount of speeds that the motors can go to. Just insulation, different sound insulations on the inside the blower cabinets to try to make the units quieter. Electronics just become crazy on some of these higher end units, and you got to really watch. Now all of these higher end air conditioners, the condensers outside, they want surge suppressors on these things. Not so much on the mid-grade ones, but on these really high-end ones. If you don't put a surge suppressor, you get a lightning strike, power surge, 10 miles, no, a couple miles down the road. We've seen these control boards just fry. They're so sensitive of what they read. A little bit of static discharge, they're gone. So do I agree with these higher end stuff? Normally not really. Mid to upper grade, I've changed my tune over the years. I used to say I hate this stuff because it just, there's so much that can go wrong with them. Now you almost don't have a choice, but I still try to stay away from the really, really high end stuff because there's just so many different codes. Example, my old house here in Bordentown, I had one of the super high end Lennox units. I would get an error code because we were bringing the groceries in the house and the front door was open too long, and I get an error stating that the unit exceeded nominal runtime. Why? Because the door was open. We're bringing groceries in, so the unit ran longer, and I'm getting a soft code. And I'm like, this is just, it's crazy. And that'll drive a contractor like myself insane, because a lot of these units communicate not only to the homeowner. If the homeowner agrees, I also get these messages, which is kind of interesting, where I can call up a customer and say, hi, Mrs. Smith, this is Mark from Service First. I just got a text message from your furnace that the sensors are dirty and they need to be cleaned. And we would get like, are you kidding me? No, you agreed to have the messages go to us and we're just giving you a reminder. So they've come a long way. They've come.
We had a blind customer, a very ill blind customer who lived alone still. He gave us access to his thermostat. And we call him and say, hey, there's this. Because he didn't know. And the person that was coming into the house wasn't coming in enough to, to know these things.
And he would call us up every once in a while. I'm cold. All right.
We had that quite a bit.
And then we finally got him with Alexa, and then he was able to. But that was very limited at the time. It's gotten better. He was able to change the temperature, but he couldn't change the system from heat to cool. So we would do that for him. Like I said, things have come a long way. There's a lot of monitoring. We do a lot of, in our industry now, called geofencing. Geofencing, for people who don't know what that is, we set the thermostat to your phone or to everybody's phone in the household. When you're more than 2 miles away, your house goes into, I'm not gonna say vacation mode, but away mode. Either the temperature go up, temperature go down, to save money. When you start driving back home, the house wakes back up again, brings the house to a comfortable setting, and you go, hey, look, I come back to my house. It was during the day 58 degrees because I wasn't here, but I got home and it was 72 already. Kind of cool idea. It used to be all done by time. Now it's done by geofencing.
Is that efficient though?
Excuse me?
Is that the most efficient way to do that?
Yes and no. It depends on how much of a temperature swing you do. If you have your air conditioning system going way down or way up during the day when you're at work or you go away from your home, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we're all making these units smaller to run more efficient and dehumidify better. Now you're coming home, the unit is already undersized, it's 100 degrees outside at 5 o'clock, and those units are trying to play catch up. Catch up doesn't work with air conditioning because you could be using 3 times the amount of electricity trying to bring the temperature back down than if it's just let the damn thing run. So depends on the day, depends on the situation. A lot of this newer high efficiency stuff, it's so efficient, it's almost just leave it alone. Heating, on the other hand, is a different story. We have to design heating for worst case scenario. So I'm going to say 99% of the time, your heater is way too big for the house. We put 120,000 BTU furnace in. When it's 45 degrees out, you only need, instead of 120,000, you may need 25,000 BTUs. That's where the variable units come in, just on multiple stages. Now we have full variable where it'll run down to 20%. Normally 20% is the minimum on a furnace where it'll run. There's a lot. The issue is how much do you want to spend? You go with these higher end Bosches and Bosch. I'm just an example. A cookie cutter Bosch, 3 tons, 100,000 BTU. Every 90% of the homes we do is that size. You're looking $19,000, $20,000. Doing it in a air temp, you're $7,200, $7,400. So it's a big difference.
The surge suppressor they want are they mounted outside or inside? The surge suppressor that they want, is that an outside mount or inside mount?
Either or. There's ones that can be mounted in the panel box. There's ones that we can mount right on the disconnect outside. Don, I talk to him all the time. They have full house suppressors, so you're protecting everything in the house. They become a little pricey, but if you're going to do it, protect your whole house, protect all your appliances, because all these appliances nowadays are coming with these new units, and it probably should be done. Do I have one in my house? No. Should I have one in my house? Yes, especially I just lost a GFIC arc fault breaker for my hot tub and outdoor. The breaker was $200 and something, and I'm glad it took the breaker out instead of the control boards on my hot tub, because the control board was $500 and something. And that was because there was a wire down that went down the street last year during a storm, and it just kept arcing on the ground back and forth for about 20 minutes. Power kept going off and on, off and on, off and on. And the breaker never tripped, but the arc fault part of it did, and it took it out. So
We were asking about the higher end units. The Bosch that we have, you can be standing right in front of it when it kicks on, and you don't hear it.
Right.
The only one we do hear is because the top isn't exactly perfect, so we have the high technology repair of it by putting a rock on top of it.
any other quick questions anybody had?
Well maintained unit lasts like mine. Like, you use it religiously every year for maintenance.
Twice a year.
Twice a year. How long will it last? 10 years? 15?
So, where do you buy these rocks?
Oh, I have them. I have them.
Um,
They're only about $50 a piece.
You should, on a higher end unit, something like you have, anywhere from 15 to 20 years. I've got Lennox units out there that I put in when I was working for other companies when I first started that are still running. It's very, on a maintained unit, unfortunately, they normally run longer than what they're good for. And as I say that, as technology changes, you really should probably replace a unit in 15 years or so, because after that, it's costing you more money because these new units are just running so much more efficient and better and doing more for you. So normally 15 years is the most I want to see out of a unit, but I've got some Lennox units out there that are 30 years old that I put in, and I'm like, really? And most of the time when we finally replace them, I had customers smack me in the back of the head. Why didn't you make me do this 5 years ago? I said, I've been telling you about this, Mr. Castini, to replace this unit. It's costing you money. Nah, it's working fine. Yeah, well, it's working fine, but it's not efficient. I had a customer years ago that had an oil boiler. I told him replace it. Finally, when it split, we replaced it. And 2 years later, one of my guys was doing a maintenance. I popped in just to say hello. I was in the neighborhood, and old Italian guy smacks me in the back of the head. You son of a bitch. I'm like, what the hell did I do? I was going through 4 tanks of oil a year. I only go through 1.5 now. You should have made me do this. Yeah, I should have made you replace your boiler. But replacing this equipment to the height, you will save money. I'm telling people this year, I just got what I'm doing next week. Yeah, I'm going to save you about 20% on your utility, but you're never going to see it. We got hit with a 20% price increase from the utility company. So, and I'm only saving you 20% on your air conditioning usage. I'm not saving you 20% on your lights, your TV, your cooking, and everything. All I could do is your HVAC. You got to call Tim to do the whole house.
Is there a big difference for the type of equipment that you have to work with if someone is on the grid versus off the grid? Or is it roughly the same?
The same equipment, same requirements. 230 volts for the air conditioners outside. 230 volts if it's an air handler. There's no difference. The only concern, I did get an email from Bosch, and I got to look into this a little further. When they set solar up, there's a requirement for the inverters to be set at specific frequencies, and you probably know what I'm talking about, that are required from the power company to match the grid. They got to match right, and I don't see it making that much of a difference with our units because they're very tolerant, but they were sending an email about it, about people who were running with solar, that the frequency, and it's not the hertz, it's not the voltage, it's another frequency or something that.
I can't say I've ever heard that.
Like I said, they pull stuff out of their backside, and like one person has a problem with something, and it's and it's really not. But like I said, I just was reading an email about, so.